first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita as it is. So in the introduction to the Gita, well, before introduction, I wanted to quickly give you an overview of the BHAKTI-SASTRI program. I was supposed to do it last time, we ran over time. So it was there in the file that I sent you, but for the sake of completeness, I just want to go over it once more. Okay, so these are the aims of the BHAKTI-SASTRI course. To help the students memorize and recall the essential knowledge of the Bhakti Shastras. So there is some amount of memorization of the verses and mostly memorization of concepts, understanding what is where. To deepen the students' understanding of the theology of the Bhakti Shastras, to help the students apply the teachings in their lives. This one is very important. So the understanding is that the course should bring about a change in our lives. To enhance the students' desire and ability to effectively preach. So when we preach, when we are able to quote from the scriptures, it automatically becomes more authoritative, and we also develop more confidence. To help the student understand and appreciate the mood and mission of Srila Prabhupada. So when we read the purports of Srila Prabhupada, and in discussions, we will talk about some of his lectures or pastimes, we will get to understand the disciplic succession to which we belong. To help the students apply the principles of the Bhakti Shastras and the Vaishnava integrity, the consideration of time. This is called Desh and Patra. So based on time, place, and circumstance. To help the students appreciate and appropriately apply Gaudiya Vaishnava culture, etiquette, principles as imparted in the Bhakti Shastras. So this is a continuation of the theme of going beyond academic study. Right? When we study the scriptures, we know what to do. And when we associate with the devotees, then we learn how to apply it. So both need to go hand in hand. And to help students imbibe Vaishnava qualities. So the understanding is that we all walk away from this course a little bit better in terms of our goal to become Vaishnavas. There are 5 units in the course. The first 3 units are Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1, 6, 7, 12, and 13, 18. The 4th unit is the Nectar of Devotion, and we do the first 19 chapters. And the 5th unit is Ishupnisad, which has 18 verses, and NOI, Nectar of Instruction, which has 11 verses. And our goal is to finish it within a year. So a little bit on the weightage, that the 6 modules, the Bhagavad Gita, the 3 modules are each 20%, the NOD is 20%, and NOI and Ishupnishad are each 10%. In terms of assessment, there is a single vehicle of assessment, which is closed book exams. So previously, I used to have open book exam also. I've discontinued it from this time, primarily because I was really not getting much of a sense of what the students are how they're processing the open book exam. So most of them were cuts and pastes from database. And there were a lot of pages, which were essentially, it's easy to cut and paste there. The open book exam really was there to allow the students to meditate deeply, to read and kind of internalize and then present it. And then I would always go back saying that, let's not do cut and paste. Why don't you think a little bit more about it? And then some students would cut and paste from Prabhupada's lectures or from writings of other senior devotees. So I'm basically putting 100% weightage on closed book exams. The exams will be self-invigilated on a Vaishnava honor system. So when you're ready for the exam, I will send you the exam paper, and there is a duration for the paper, and essentially you self-invigilate. So you make sure that you do it in a single sitting, make sure that it is within the time, and of course it's closed book, so no consulting with any book or anything else. It's essentially you and the paper, and you would have to type it up and send it to me, and then I would review it, or have some devotee review it, but it'll get reviewed, and the grades will be given to you. In terms of progression, once we have completed the module, then you're ready to take the exam. And so there are some times when, because of conflicts or pressure, the person is not able to take the exam. So they can continue to attend the classes, but they will not be able to take the exam of the next module. So like if you're on module 1 and you haven't taken the exam on module 1, you can still attend module 2 or module 3. You can factor in the whole course, and it will be in an audit mode. But you can only take the module 2 exam after you've completed module 1. Okay. Just in terms of the certifications, there will be an overall course grade, which is the aggregation of the individual students' grade as per the percentage. They will be submitted to ISKCON Board of Education Assessment Board, and in case there are any marginal cases, so 65% is the pass. If somebody is marginally below, then there is basically a face-to-face discussion just to ensure that if the person is candidate to be awarded. This particular course is being done in accordance to ISKCON Board of Education under ISKCON Potomac Exam Center. So I'm a registered instructor over there, and the certification will be issued by the ISKCON Board of Education. They're headquartered in Puri, but essentially they are the administrative body. And the students need to complete all the exams within a year and a half from the commencement of the course. So if you complete the course in a year, then the students have approximately 6 months to complete the course. There are a few devotees who go down that route, that they first do the course and then they do the exams. My recommendation is to do the exam at the end of each module. That way you'll get more out of subsequent modules, and your work is also distributed. You don't have that pressure of doing six modules, but it's up to the devotees. Okay, so that was it. I'll pause over here and see if we have any questions, any concerns, comments.
I have one question. I have difficulty reading the Sanskrit. That's, for example, you said that we need to memorize shlokas. Is there any way to hear? I mean, maybe there is recordings of these shlokas, the pronunciation of these shlokas.
I can send you a YouTube link And we have the entire Bhagavad Gita's recitation on YouTube. So you can use that.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we have Padmapriya Mataji. Padma Manjari Mataji, my apologies.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I have the same problem with memorizing the Sanskrit verses. Also, after each module, do we personally request the exam, or you'll ask us if we need to have the exam after each module?
It's completely up to you. So whenever you're ready, send me an email that you would like to take the exam for module 1, module 2. So as long as the stipulations are met, that you can take module 2 after you've done the module 1 exam. But you send me an email and I'll send you the exam paper.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Rajiv Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So a couple of questions. The exam, you mentioned it's going to be a closed book. What is the duration, typical duration of the exam? And is it supposed to be done within, like, let's say, a week? So this week, let's say, was the last lecture for one of the modules. So do you have like a week to take that exam before we start the next module?
So typically the exam is an hour long, and it is a mixture of short answer questions and essay type question and verses. I will be giving you the question bank, which has all the questions that will come in the exam and more. So it's a question bank. The idea is that if you're able to understand and answer all the questions in the question bank, the question paper will be a subset of the question bank. Make sense?
Yeah.
Right. For each module, let's say module 1, the exam, I'm just picking numbers, I don't remember. The exam may have 15 questions, but I'll send you 50 questions for module 1. And that would be your preparation for module 1. And I'll send you the list of verses to be memorized and the list of essay questions. So once you're done with the question bank, you're ready for the paper. The taking of the exam is self-paced. So you can choose to take it right after the module finishes, which I said is recommended, but you can choose to take it anytime. You can choose to take it after the whole course finishes, or you can choose to take it based on whatever. The only stipulation is that you need to take all the exams within 6 months of the finish of the course. So once I finish the course, I will hold the grades with me for 6 months. After that, I will submit them to BOEX and I will close the course. So then the course is officially closed. And then after that, BOEX will not accept any new grades or any new candidature. Does that answer the question, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ramachandra Piya, Prabhu.
Prabhu, I want to know about how the marks will be distributed, like short answer questions, how those will be allocated, and what will be for the essay type question answers. Previously, because I have done this BHAKTI-SASTRI, if you can remember, Prabhu, some years back in Potomac Temple with Braj Bihari Prabhu. So at that time, we used to do the essay type question and answers to those ones later on, after the exam in the temple in person. So I'm not sure whether how will we do this time. So we have to finish the essay type question answers even during the 1 hour session. No.
No, yeah. Prabhu. So at that time, we used to have an open book exam and a closed book exam. The open book exam was the essay type questions that we did later on. For this course, there is no open book exam. So there's no essay type questions. The only paper that you have to do is when you're actually doing the closed book exam. That's the only submission, which carries 100% weightage.
Okay, so in that one, so there is like essay type question you mentioned earlier. So will there be such questions in there?
There will be, so open book essay type would be something like write 1500 words, right? So there were several pages. Closed book essay type is write 50 words. The short term, the short answer questions would be write 1 line, 2 line. In fact, they penalize you if you like longer. So like short to the point.
Okay.
And essay type is 1 paragraph. 50 words, not more than that. And there are 2 verses to memorize. When we finish the module, I'll go over the exam format once again at the time. So once you finish the module, we'll do a revision of the module from the exam perspective. And then I'll also specifically remind everybody about what to expect.
Okay, thank you very much, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Ranga Mataji?
Prabhuji, I wanted to check, do we have any approximate time frame when each unit is approximately will be finished so that we are prepared for that? Around this month, we'll have the first unit exam expected. Do we have any milestones?
So my hope is, so there are 6 modules, 12 months. My hope is to do each module in 2 months. I don't always succeed. What happens is Bhagavad Gita tends to take a little longer because there's more discussion and there's more there, but it may be a little bit longer there. I try to do 2 months for each module. So we should be done in 12 months time. That's the plan. Okay. Kokila Mataji?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So it said that we have to complete in 1.5 year, right, Prabhuji? So if we take 1 module, 2 months, then we won't be able to finish the whole Bhagavad Gita, right, Prabhuji?
So Bhagavad Gita is 3 modules, that's 6 months. And then Nectar of Devotion is 2 months. So that's 8 months. And then NOI and Isopnishat is basically 2 months each. So we have 6 modules, we have 2 months each. That's 12 months. The 6th month after that is essentially given as a concession to, because most of the people in this course are working or they have stuff going on. So sometimes they take longer to clear the exams. So the course is actually closed in 12 months. That 6 months is for the devotees to clear the exams.
Thank you, Prabhuji. And one more question. So in 12 months time, as when the module is finished, we are eligible to take the test for each module.
Yes. So there are two requirements to take the test. The module should be finished, and then you should have taken the exam of the previous module. The first module is a bit of an exception, but you can take the second module exam only after you have taken the first one. So these are the 2 requirements, that we should have finished the study of the module and you should have taken the exam of the previous module.
Does the introduction also included, Prabhuji?
In the Bhagavad Gita?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I will cover this today. The introduction and this first chapter, we will cover it today.
Thank you, Prabhuji. That's all.
Thank you. Rajna, Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I have a question about the format of the exam. So you said the duration is 1 hour, right? And is it online? I think it is online, right?
It's not online, Prabhu. I'll send you the question paper as a document.
Okay.
And then you basically type in your answers in the document and send it back to me.
Okay. And if Bhagavad Gita, sloka recitation, how would we do
There's
that?
no recitation, Prabhu. There's writing. So you have to write the Sanskrit and the English.
Oh, Sanskrit. Yeah, okay. So we have to write the Bhagavad Gita slokas, not recitation. Okay.
No recitation, Sanskrit and English. Though it's good to, you'll automatically, once you learn it, you'll learn the recitation also, right?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to take 2 more questions. And after that, we will, because I want to make sure I get to the material also. So we have the host, not sure who's the host.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I think this is Chaitanya.
Chaitanya, okay. Go
A
ahead.
quick question, Prabhu. So Sanskrit verse, you said, so we have to write in Sanskrit or we can write in English?
Same way like Prabhupada writes, you can write the verse in English, and essentially you're going to be typing in the answer. So that's, unless you have a you have a Sanskrit keyboard, really the only way available is to write it in with diacritics in English.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, Varita Mataji.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you. My concern is about as I was reading the syllabus, the analogies. I'm sure you can address it later if you want to, that's fine. But I'm concerned, like, what are we supposed to do with those? Are we going to talk about each of them, or how I'm going to use it for preparation? The analogies for each chapter.
Yeah, so a couple of things. The material that I sent you, their description of the exam is a little different from what I'm giving you. So their allocation of the marks and the modules, etc., is a little different. I would not worry too much about what's been sent over there. And thank you for asking the question. I should have said that upfront. The module distribution, the nature of the exam, don't go by the material that's been given. Go with what I've said. And like I said, once you're ready for the exam, I will at that time take some time to speak more in details of the exam at that time, right? So that you're properly prepared. Right. Okay, very good. So starting with the Bhagavad Gita introduction, I wanted to start off with a little bit of a role play. So I would want one devotee to volunteer to try and distribute the Bhagavad Gita to me. So I am a person off the street, and you have a Bhagavad Gita with you, Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, that you would like to give to me, Bhagavad Gita as it is. So we'll do a short role play, maybe a few minutes, and then we'll have some discussion on it. So I need one volunteer. Okay, so Bhagavati Prabhu, thank you for breaking the ice over here.
Hare Krishna. So
go ahead.
Yeah.
You have a Bhagavad Gita in your hand, you want to give it to me and convince me.
Yeah, so I was saying, Hare Krishna, have you heard about this book, Bhagavad Gita as it is?
Yes, I'm from India. I've known Bhagavad Gita for a very, very long time. I know all about Bhagavad Gita.
Okay. So have you heard that the book, like by Prabhupada, where it is as it is, the Yatharth, the as is version without adulteration, without any extra interpretation?
So that's a good question. I was actually going to ask you that why does it say as it is? If you open the Bhagavad Gita and read it, every verse has a purport, which is an interpretation by the author. So how can you say that it is as it is?
Because the essence of Bhagavad Gita, what Krishna says in this book, is not adulterated. It's coming in the parampara system. It's bona fide. Prabhupada is a bona fide spiritual master. He's giving the essence without giving his interpretation. He's giving the essence what Krishna is trying to tell us to the general world. So that's what he's trying to teach. It's basically, if we want to understand the higher purpose in life, if we want to understand who am I, what is the purpose of my life, and since we are born in this human body, I think there's a higher purpose. We are not animals who are just eating, mating, sleeping, and defending. We have the
So,
highest
so what you mean to say is that the other Bhagavad Gitas that have been written by Shankaracharya or by Madhavacharya, or there are so many, in the introduction it says, right, that there are more than 2,000 copies, commentaries. So they're all motivated interpretations, they're not as it is?
So some of them are not motivated, but this is one of the one which is not motivated. Prabhupada is trying to give the essence, the actual interpretation without many of the Bhagavad Gita you will see, even from Shankaracharya, this talks about impersonalism. It's not going to the highest level of bliss, right? We are human beings, we are the soul, not the body. We are Satchidanand. So they only talk about the Sat existence and the knowledge. So this goes to the Brahman. This explains about what Brahman is, what the first level of Bhagwan realization, the second level is the Paramatma, and then the ultimate bliss, which is the Bhagwan realization.
I see. Okay, thank you, Prabhu. And thank you for volunteering also.
Thank you.
So one of the first things that we encounter when we are studying the Bhagavad Gita is, and this is true for all the books that we study, that what makes them special. And Srila Prabhupada, in the introduction, he writes about why did Srila Prabhupada write a commentary when there are so many other commentaries? So why is the Bhagavad Gita as it is? So, and Prabhu made most of the points that are made here. These are extracts from Prabhupada's comments in the introduction and purports. So the reason that this Bhagavad Gita is special is because it is written by a devotee in the disciplic succession. One of the common questions that comes up is that how can you say if it is as it is if there is a commentary? So whenever it is a commentary, then it is the person's own understanding that has been put there. So then how can you still say as it is? How can you say that my commentary is as it is and your commentary is as it is not? And Srila Prabhupada, right away, he lays down the foundation that when the commentary is coming from a devotee in the disciplic succession, then the message is preserved. So he presents both ways, that a devotee in a disciplic succession, what does it mean, devotee? What it means is that the person is practicing. The person is not an armchair speculator. I remember I was in an interfaith once, and one of the person who was from the Christian faith, he knew the Bhagavad Gita inside out, including Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. But he was a Christian, he was not a practicing devotee. And you could see the differences in the realization. For everything for him was basically an object of speculation. That, yeah, this is said, but that said, Shankaracharya says this, and this person says that. So there is the essence of the Bhagavad Gita, the sweetness of the Bhagavad Gita is lost. So that's why Prabhupada said that so-called scholars, politicians, philosophers and swamis, without knowledge of Krishna, try to banish or kill Krishna. So who tries to banish or kill Krishna? The Mayavadis. Right? They will read the Bhagavad Gita, and what is the conclusion that they will come up with? That you are Krishna, or that there is no Krishna. So these are the materialistically motivated. What is the other category of people who will read Bhagavad Gita and they will quote it to support their own views? I was once, this was in India, I was giving a lecture on Bhagavad Gita, and one person got up and she said, essentially what the Bhagavad Gita says, that you have to respect your elders. And then I said that actually in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is asking Arjuna to kill his elders. And she had not read the Bhagavad Gita. She wanted to make, she was an older lady, she wanted to make that point for whatever reason. But people do that. Because they consider the Bhagavad Gita to be famous, and they want their views to be supported. They rely on the fact the other person has not read the Bhagavad Gita. So they'll stand up and say, Bhagavad Gita says fill in the blank, whatever they want to say. So these are all unauthorized comments or commentaries. And then Prabhupada says that only purpose is to present the Bhagavad Gita as it is, so that the conditioned student is guided to the same purpose for which Krishna descends. This is an important point, that it is as it is because the essence is preserved. Krishna wants us to do something, and because we are doing it, we are preserving the essence. Then the last part Prabhupada says is that people will derive the greatest benefit by studying Bhagavad Gita as it is. Even if one man becomes a pure devotee of the Lord, we shall consider our attempt a success. So we are fortunate that we're connected in disciplic succession to Srila Prabhupada, and we have access to the literature with the message preserved. And even though we are speaking about Bhagavad Gita, this applies equally to all the other books, NOI, NOD, and Isopanishad, all the other books, equally it applies to it. Now, for the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita, I see one hand raised, and I'll take questions a little later on. I want to first complete the introduction. So, the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita is essentially a summation of the science of Krishna consciousness. So we see that Srila Prabhupada talks about so many things in the introduction. And it all comes together in creating the foundation by which we can read and imbibe the Gita. Now, I'm not going to go through the introduction, and if you haven't read it, I strongly recommend that you read it. But when you reread the introduction, I want you to read it from the perspective of Das Mula Tattva, the 10 essential principles of religion. And I'll give you a quick background on this. Das Mula Tattva is written by Bhakti-Vinod Thakur, and he wrote it based on the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So Lord Chaitanya essentially had 5 primary teachings. To Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, twice, he instructed them. To Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Prakashananda Saraswati, them he taught. So to Rupa and Sanatana, it was Bhakti. To Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Prakashananda Saraswati, it was Vedanta Sutra. And the 5th was Ramananda Roy, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not teach, but he asked him questions, and the answers were in effect his teachings, which was the highest realm of bhakti. So Srila Prabhupada combined these 5, you'll find all these 5 teachings in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Srila Prabhupada combined them into the book called The Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Bhakti-Vinod Thakur, he took the essence of the teachings and presented them in this 10 principles. And the introduction that Srila Prabhupada writes, it enumerates these 10 principles. Now, they're not in an order. It's not that it starts from 1 to 10, and you'll see that they're distributed over. But when you read the introduction, keep these 10 principles in front of you, and then you will see how Prabhupada, one by one, he elaborates on each one of them. The first is the Vedas are absolute. So what does that mean? That when we go through this cycle of authority, then So for instance, I'm saying based on the authority of my Guru Maharaj. He was saying based on the authority of Srila Prabhupada. So there is the disciplic succession that's going on. But then ultimately, there is one authority that stands on its own. And that are the Vedas. So Prabhupada says the Vedas have to be accepted as absolute, even if they contain apparently contradictory messages. So what's the example of contradictory messages? The Vedas says that the bones are considered to be unclean, but the conch is auspicious. You bathe the deities with the conch, you blow the conch. Stool and urine are unclean, but the stool of cow and urine is considered to be purified. So it's just the Vedas, they say. So you accept the fact. You cannot apply logic saying that, well, if the stool of the cow is considered to be pure, the human form of life is higher than the cow, so the stool of a human should be more pure. So all those logical inductions, they are not going to be applicable to the Vedas. The Vedas are absolute and they are the basis. So now on the basis of the Vedas, the other 9 points come. So 2 to 8 talk about the Sambandhagya. What is the relationship between the Lord and the living entity? Right? So Krishna is absolute. He is endowed with all energies, material and spiritual, and is the ocean of all rasas. That means all relationships converge in Krishna. So the first 3 points talk about the nature of Krishna. Then 5 to 7 talk about the nature of jivas. The jivas are the separated parts of the Lord. So qualitatively they are the same, quantitatively much smaller. Then 2 kinds of jivas, conditioned jivas under the influence of matter, and the liberated jivas are beyond the influence of matter. Right? So we know Krishna, we know jiva, and the point 8 talks about the relationship between Krishna and the jiva. So this is Sambandhagya. That the jiva and the material world are both different from and identical to the Lord. Right? So this is Mahaprabhu's Achintya Bheda Bhed Tattva. So how are they different? Quantitatively they are different. The Lord is infinite and the jiva is infinitesimal. How are they identical? Qualitatively. That Krishna is Satchitananda Vigraha, the jiva is Satchitananda Vigraha. So after having established Sambandh, then the 9th Tattva is Abhidaya. That how does the jiva re-establish the relationship or continues to establish a relationship with the Lord? So what is Abhidaya? Pure devotion, Bhakti. Bhakti is the only process by which the jiva establishes a relationship with the Lord. 10th is Prayojan, which is what is the ultimate goal of the process, which is Shuddha Prema, pure love for Krishna. So Prabhupada talks about these 10 in introduction because Bhakti-Sastri is also divided amongst these 3. Bhagavad Gita is essentially a book of Sambandhagya. In Bhagavad Gita, we will see that Krishna talks about himself and the jivas and the relationship between the two. Nectar of Instruction is essentially a book of Abhidaya. There, Rupa Goswami teaches us how to practice bhakti. Isopnishad is essentially a book of Sambandhagya, where the focus is on understanding the nature of the Lord and the relationship of the jiva with the Lord. And Nectar of Devotion, it is a mixture of Abhidaya and Prayojan. So part of Nectar of Devotion is how to practice bhakti, and the part of Nectar of Devotion is what are the experiences of pure devotees. So the Prayojan part of it, we do the first 19th chapter, which is mostly Abhidaya. After that, it's mostly about Prayojan. But and again, this is the general categorization. Bhagavad Gita is Sambandh, but there are glimpses of Abhidaya, right? When Krishna says Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, what is he saying? How to practice bhakti. right? So he's giving some hints on Abhidaya. And when we, in the NOI, there is a nectar of instruction. Mostly the focus is on how to practice devotion, but also talks about the position of Krishna, Radharani, Radhakund, etc. So there are, it's not like watertight compartments, but the predominant subject matter is between Sambandh, Abhidaya and Prayojan, that Bhagavad Gita and Isopanishad Sambandh, NOI, Abhidaya, and NOD, Abhidaya and Prayojan. Okay, so that concludes our discussion on the introduction. I'll take a pause over here. I know there's one question, so we'll take maybe a few questions at this point before I proceed to the first chapter. Okay, Vanita, Mataji, go ahead.
Yes, Prabhuji, is this, we need to take notes or they're included somewhere?
Okay, thank you for reminding me. So everything that I will show you, I will send it to you also, so you don't have to take notes.
Thank you.
Things that I speak on and do not show you, that you will get from the recordings, but any PowerPoints, any slides that I show you, I will send it to you also. Rajiv?
What is the English version of Abhidaya? Like, what is the translation, Prabhu, of Abhidaya and Prayojan? Is there like a English?
I don't know if there is a word-to-word translation, but Sambandh is understanding the relationship with Krishna. Abhidaya is establishing that relationship, and Prayojan is enjoying that relationship. Okay? And it's very important for devotees to clearly understand these three things, because the entire Vedas is constructed, the whole spiritual literature is constructed based on Sambandh, Abhidaya and Prayojan. So very important to understand that in your mind. Like when you're reading Bhagavatam, so somebody give me their best guess. What do you think Bhagavatam is mostly about?
Devotees and different.
No, just in terms of Sambandha, Abhidaya, Prayojan. What is Bhagavatam mostly about?
Sambandha?
Say that again.
Sambandha?
No, Bhagavatam is mostly about Abhidaya. Right. So Bhagavatam, it says in the beginning, Prabhupada said that Bhagavatam picks where the Bhagavad Gita ends. Bhagavad Gita ends with Sambandha. The last verse that Krishna says, or the last popular verse, Sadhanam Pratyaje, what is that? Abhidaya. How do you practice bhakti? And what is Bhagavatam? Starts with that after having rejected all forms of cheating religions, now we will discuss the topics of devotion. So it's mostly Abhidaya. Chaitanya Charitamrita is mostly Prayojan. It mostly talks about how the perfected devotees of the Lord act with one another. Okay, so I do not see any more questions. So what I'm going to do now is divide you.
There's one more.
Hi, Krishna Prabhu, I just raised hand. So if nectar of devotion is both Abhidaya and Prayojana, why are we skipping the Prayojana part in this course? Means we stop at chapter 19. Any reasons?
It's a little esoteric. I mean, Prabhupada wrote it over there because he wanted us to study it. But generally what happens is that you study up to 19th chapter in BHAKTI-SASTRI. And then once you have more years of practice, once you are more well settled, because from 20 and all, the more intimate relationship of Krishna with gopis and associates, they are there. So the fact that Prabhupada translated it, he wants us to read it, but not at a BHAKTI-SASTRI level.
Okay, Prabhu. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is divide you into 4 groups. The first group will be discussing about Duryodhan's diplomacy. This is chapter 1. The second group will be talking about the signs of victory of the Pandavas. The third group will be talking about Krishna as Bhaktivatsal, and the fourth will be talking about the 5 reasons that Arjun gives for not fighting. And then each of the group will have to pick one person that will present it. We have 10 minutes, and I think I'll have to take a little bit more time, even though I promised I'll finish in 60 minutes, but I'm not going to be able to do that. So I'm going to give you 10 minutes to discuss in your respective rooms, and then each person gets 2 minutes to present. Okay, I'll put this in the chat also, so you know the 4 each of the rooms know. So is everybody clear what they need to do, or anybody has doubts? No, okay, good. So I'm going to divide you into 4 rooms, and the system will randomly Chaitanya Prabhu, you didn't get a room?
No, Prabhu, probably because I'm the host. Is it that the reason?
I see 8 people who did not get a room.
Yeah.
Or maybe they did not go to a room. I know there are some.
Do we get a prompt or something, Prabhu?
Yeah, you should get a. Well, it doesn't even give you a prompt. It just puts
Oh,
you in the.
yeah, I can join any one of them, I guess.
Yeah, pick a room.
It's available in the chat room. Yeah, I can join.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu.
that goddess Fortune. So they were predestined to lose the battle, and that was a message announced by the sounds of conch shells.
Okay, Haribol, welcome back. I hope you had a nice discussion. So we will start with room 1. So if the presenter can brief within 2 minutes for the group, and we'll take questions after all the briefings have been done.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So the points which we have discussed is, first of all, Duryodhana gets very scared looking at the army of the other side of Pandavas, but then he doesn't. He gets scared, but he doesn't shows up. And the next point is like he points out his teacher as Brahmana. And he makes him remember about the enmity between Drupada, so that and then he says, and then he immediately he thinks that, oh, I have offended my teacher. So he says like, oh, you are the great teacher, you have to we need your Bhishma needs your support. And then he praises Bhishma, saying that Bhishma is a great warrior, keeping all his duplicity and diplomacy inside his heart. And then he was very insecure, looking at. I mean, he does. He's having insecurity of complete lose of the battle, because Krishna was. I mean, I don't know whether he understands that that Krishna is on the other side, but he has like full insecurity. Prabhuji, one more point you want to add? Like, I have noted only 5 points.
I think you covered. I think you covered all the points of Duryodhana's diplomacy. And what I'll do also is I'll summarize them and send them to the group in a slide. There. Right, but your group covered all the points, so well done. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, let's move on to room number 2, signs of victory for the Pandavas, verses 14 to 20.
Krishna Prabhu. So the signs of victory we came up about is the blowing of the conch shells. We saw that when the Duryodhan side blew the conch shell, although they have many great warriors, it didn't shatter the hearts of the soldiers, because all the conch shells that were blown by Arjuna's side they were all transcendental. Each one of them was given, each one of them has a name, and each one of them was given because of something, because of some great quality. So blowing of the conch shell was the main thing that shattered the hearts of Duryodhan, all the soldiers, and give victory to Arjuna's side. Also, there was the flag on the chariot, and the flag was Lord Hanuman, and we know wherever Lord Rama is, Lord Hanuman is. Also together with Sita Devi, the goddess of fortune. So that means victory. We also, there was also the chariot, which was donated by Agni, the fire god, and that chariot was said to be very powerful and never be defeated, wherever it can go, all corners of the world. And the main thing was that Krishna was there. Wherever there is Krishna, there is Radha. So that is fortune and victory right there. So that's what we came up with for the sign of victory. Victory was there.
Very good. So you covered all the points, and obviously I can see that you all have read the purport of Srila Prabhupada very nicely. So thank you for that. Room 3. Krishna as Bhaktavatsal.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for this beautiful discussion. So we discussed 5 points. First, Krishna accepting the position of a charioteer shows that him being a Bhakta Vatsala. and then he became a subservient to his devotee, in this case Arjuna. This is second point, becoming a subservient to his devotee. Third, Arjuna instructing Krishna to go in the middle of a battlefield to have a glance, and Krishna did as it is, and then said, Arjuna, here we are, you can see this. So Krishna serves Arjuna as he wants. Fourth point, being a charioteer, he would receive many kicks from the instructor, which is Arjuna in this case. So Krishna, being the Bhakta Vatsala in this case, accept the position of a servitor, and then he goes out of his stature that he is the supreme lord, but in this case he is just doing a duty of a driver. So with all these qualities, he is the Bhakta Vatsala in this case.
Very nice. I think the point about receiving kicks, that is not written in Prabhupada's purport, but it is mentioned by Vishwanath Chakravarti in his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita. So he says that when the communication between the chariot rider and the driver is that the chariot rider will put the feet on the back of the driver. So just like we have accelerator, brake, and we manipulate it. So in the battle, the warrior would, by pressing the feet, manipulate the driver, take it to the right, take it to the left, go a little faster. So it's a pretty humble position, and for the Lord to take that. Thank you. The last one, which probably has a little bit more than the others, which is the Arjun's reasons for not fighting.
Hare Krishna. Go ahead. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So in our group, we came up with, so we were not sure of the exact breakdown. Maybe if there's a different verse, you can let us know. But for the first one, we had his first reason, Arjuna's first reason in 1.27, where he was overwhelmed with compassion as his first reason for not fighting. So basically misplaced compassion, or it's just compassion from being too soft-hearted, or being compassionate in the wrong instance. Then for the second reason not to fight, we had weakness, anxiousness in the verse, in verses 1.28 through 1.30, he says, my mouth is drying up, my hands are quivering, my body is trembling. So those symptoms. Then for the third reason, Arjuna quoted not to fight was giving, what is the use of enjoying without family? And even if we enjoy, even if we were to win the battle, we won't be able to enjoy with our relatives and friends. So that was from 1.32 to 1.35. And then the fourth reason we had was the sin of becoming the aggressor. So that was in 1.36. Basically, it's sinful to have this fight. And then for the fifth reason, we had from 1.37 to 1.40, Arjuna saying how engaging in battle would destroy the society, tear apart families, cause the destruction of the traditions, and basically women becoming polluted. And he gives a bunch of reasons how each of those have their own consequences, which completely degrades society. So those were the 5 reasons we had.
Okay, thank you. So you got 4 reasons correct. It's a little bit of a trick question.
We had 5.
It's a bit of a trick question because the 5th reason doesn't come in the first chapter, it comes in the 2nd chapter. So there are 4 reasons in the first chapter, and you got all 4 of them. So the acronym to remember is CEFDI, CEFDI, compassion, enjoyment, fear, destruction of family tradition, and the 5th one, which is indecision, comes in the 5th chapter. And I'll send you the chart. I'll send you the chart with the verses, but you got all the verses correct also. So very good job. I have one question, so let's take Padmamataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I don't know if, Hare Krishna Prabhu, I don't know if I missed it, but I don't think I read in chapter 1 that Arjuna he was shivering and his mouth was drying up. I can't recall that I read that in chapter 1.
It comes towards the end of the chapter.
Oh, okay. I'll
Arjun
go
says
back.
that, you know,
I'll
when he
go
says
back and read.
Nimitani Vipratani, all I see is causes or reverses. And Prabhupada in the purport writes that there are two kinds of shivering, one that comes out of spiritual ecstasy and one that comes out of fear.
I remember that part, but I'll go back and read it again. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, it's a good idea to read it again after that. Okay, very good. So we will end over here. I will send you the PowerPoint that I was sharing with you, all the material that I was sharing with you. Generally, you don't have to take a lot of notes because whatever I'll show, I'll send it to you, and whatever I speak is recorded. But every person has their own style of studying, so not going to come between you and your style. For the next discussion, we will do chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, 72 verses, and please read the verse and the purports. For that, we will follow a similar format that with the expectation that you read it. We will divide you in groups, and so that each one of you can present, and hopefully we'll have a little bit more time in terms of discussing between the groups the points that they make. Okay, I see one question from Amit Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Actually, I sent the contact information to you, but by mistake, I used incorrect email, so I didn't receive anything from you. So I just sent you the information at your email. So can you please share the package that you have shared with all the other devotees?
I will. It's also there in the WhatsApp group. You're part of the WhatsApp group?
No, actually, I'm not there either.
No. So if you can send me both your email address and your mobile number, I'll make sure that you're part of both the groups.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. I did send you both.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Gayatri Mataji?
Hare Krishna. So I saw that on the introduction, you have this question in the open book assessment questions. List 3 aspects of Prabhupada's mood and mission as revealed in the preface. That's something that we need to work on our own, and the significance of Dhritarashtra saying Mamaka. So that we're not gonna be discussing these questions, right? That's something that we need to get to.
We will not be discussing the questions. You don't have to worry about the open book exam because, as I mentioned, there will not be an open book exam. But it's a good idea to attend the closed book exam. So the questions that you see in the closed book exam, that essentially is your question bank. Your exam questions will be out of those questions.
But we're not going to go over all of them. Like today, we didn't go all of the significance of Dhritarashtra saying Mamaka.
We will not go. We don't have time. But if somebody has doubts, you can send me an email. I'll try and answer it, or we can answer it. If many students have the same doubt, we'll try and address it in the class. Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Let's see. We have Ramchandra Priya Prabhu.
Prabhu, so just wanted to clarify for the next class. So we'll be doing chapter 2. So Prabhu, will you be presenting a summary of the chapter 2, how different sections are interrelated? Yes. And how, okay, because I was thinking just if we only have this discussions between devotees and we don't hear from you, then we may not understand properly.
Yes, everything. I will present the structure of the chapter, and based on the structure, we will do breakouts, and then after that, I will summarize. There will be situations, as we had in this case, where the breakout rooms summary was more or less the same as my summary, but I will still send my summary over later on as a document.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Chitra Mataji?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, when you will tell us which verses we have to memorize?
I will send that to you between now and the next class. I will send that to you. Okay. Ranga Mataji?
So 2 questions, Prabhu. So the memorization verses is not same as what is in the manual. It's going to be different.
They are the same. I mean, I'll extract them and send them to you just for ease of memorization.
Okay, Prabhu. Next thing is this question bank that you are referring. Would it be possible for us to get the question bank for the unit before, in the beginning itself, so it helps us to relate and understand where?
It's there in the material that I sent you.
The question bank?
Yes. For after each chapter, there's the questions, and essentially those comprise the question bank.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's what was Gayatri Mataji's question.
Those are the questions.
So there are two kinds of questions: open book and closed book. Don't worry about the open book. I mean, you can still do it. It's good to do it. But the closed book is the one that you should attempt, and that's where the question will be asked from the closed book. Yeah. And they're very simple questions. They're very, very simple questions.
Okay.
Okay. Chitra Mataji?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I haven't received the material. Can you please send it to me?
You're part of the WhatsApp group?
Yes.
Okay, so it was posted in the WhatsApp group. I'll send it to you separately in WhatsApp once again.
Thank you.
Okay, let me make a note of it. Okay. We have, so Gayatri Mataji, is your hand just up or you have another question?
Yeah, I just have one more question. Are all the questions over here, all the answers in the book, in the Bhagavad Gita, for example, list the vows Bhishma made after the gambling match? Is it in Bhagavad Gita, the vows that he gave? I mean, I remember them a little bit from the movie, but I didn't find them in the first chapter.
So all the questions are from either the verse or the purport. All the questions will be answered by the verse or the purport. From time to time, I might tell you something that is not within Prabhupada's purport, just for information. Like I was talking about the chariot drivers, right? That doesn't come in Prabhupada's purport. It comes in other acharyas' purport, but it's just for information. You'll never be tested on that. But all the questions are completely from Srila Prabhupada's translation and purpose. Okay.
Prabhuji, I think that question, I also had the same question, because it is talking about what are the vows by Bhima. That is not there in anywhere in chapter 1. So I also had the same question.
Is this in the open book or the closed book?
The closed book, question number
5.
It is referring it as 1.4, but in 1.4 or any part of the chapter, it's not, nowhere is talking about Bhima vows.
It's not. Okay. I'll take a look at it and I'll send it to you. I'll send it to the group separately then, vows of Bhima. Okay. So we have one last question from Rajiv Prabhu.
Prabhu, when we are answering questions on the closed book, I mean, I guess, are we preparing to answer one paragraph for each of them?
Most of the questions, Prabhu, are either 1 or 2 line answers. Some questions may be a paragraph, but most of the questions have short answers.
So when we have these, when you mentioned essay type, but they are 1 paragraph, are we expected to refer any verses or any other references in those answers?
It's a good idea. So think of answering the question in terms of preaching to somebody else. So the more authoritative your answers are, so 2 things should be there. One is the answer should be factually correct. The substance should be correct. And embellishment to that is if you're able to refer to Prabhupada verse, Prabhupada lecture, or something that is authoritative. So it's an embellishment. It's not a must-have. It's good to have.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you. So we will end over here. And from my side, my homework is that I will send you this PowerPoint, or I'll have Prem Kishore Prabhu send out the PowerPoint to all of you. A question that is not answered, I will take care of it. Chitra Mataji, I will send the material over, and I will look for an email to add the devotees to the group. Your homework is to read chapter 2. It's the second longest chapter in the Bhagavad Gita, and probably one of the most important chapters because it summarizes the other 16 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. You understand the second chapter, you're good to go. The other chapters are simply expansions of the verses in the second chapter. So read it scrutinizingly, read it once, read it twice, and then we'll have discussion and within the group and with me, we'll have discussion on it. So we'll end over here. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Nantkoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.